Okay, here's the fourth and final video on golden triads. So we've covered a lot of territory already, but just a little review. We should know that C, F, and G are just major chords on their own. D, E, and A all require sharp in the middle to be major. And then B is a weird one where it needs D sharp and F sharp in order to be a major chord. So remember those 7 major chords. Then we talked in the last video about how to turn them into minor chords or augmented chords or diminished chords, right? So that's the only 4 versions of these chords we can have. So if you're thinking like a, what's this called? A Punnett square, I think. So in biology, you might have had a class where it was like A, B, B, A, B, B, A, right? And that's like a genetic thing. We're kind of thinking the same way for our chords where we have, you know, our major chord is skip 3 then 2, our minor chord is skip 2 then 3, our augmented chord with a plus sign, that's how we usually show that, is 3 and 3. Then our diminished chord, that's our little degree kind of sign, like 78 degrees. It's going to be 2 and 2. There's no other options there. We only have 2 options. It's 3 or 2, or 2 or 3, or 3 or 3, or 2 or 2. We're not working with 1 or 4 or anything else. So hopefully that kind of helps you compartmentalize some of these things as well, right? There's only 4 different types of triads here. So in this 4th video, what we want to talk about is figuring out some of these black key triads, right? So here's some easy ways of thinking about this if you know your golden triads already. So if you already know a C chord is going to be the notes C, E, and G, well, if I flat the first note, C, that means I also need to flat this note and flat this note. So it's like I'm subtracting 1 from each note, right? So I take this, I move 1 key down, I move 1 key down, I move 1 key down, right? So I'm moving every key down a half step, and I end up getting the C flat major chord. It's still 3 and 2. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, right? So that's one way to convert one of these chords you already know into another one. The keen-eyed of you might have noticed, this is a B major chord. These are all the same notes. C flat is B, E flat is D sharp, G flat is F sharp. So you might encounter a C flat chord in your music eventually, but you're probably more likely to see a B chord. So we say, just like certain notes are enharmonically equivalent, we'd say these chords are enharmonically equivalent. It's the same notes, man. It's just like, what are you calling it? Are you calling your starting note C flat, or are you going to call it B? Well, if your starting note C flat, then it needs to be E flat, G flat. If your starting note is B, it needs to be D sharp, F sharp. Those are the rules. You must play a note, skip a note, play a note, skip a note, play a note, and define them from that perspective, right? So let's go the other way. If we know this is C major, then if we need C sharp major, we just sharp every single note. Boom, done. Because everything has to move a half step together. So we get C sharp major. C sharp, E sharp, which sure looks like an F, then G sharp, okay? So we can modify these chords we already know to kind of figure this out. So if you remember earlier, I was saying I think of sharps as like a positive sign and flats as a negative sign, right? So let's take one that doesn't belong in the CFG family or the natural family and see how this works out. So we have D, E, and A to pick from. I'm gonna do A from the sharp family. So here's A, and the A major chord is A sharp, C sharp, E. So we already know if I want to turn this minor, I need to flat my 3rd note, which just turn that into a regular C. So A minor would just be A, C, E. So A major, A, C sharp, E, A minor, A, C, E. Well, what if I want A flat major? How would I figure this out? What I'm going to do is if I have to flat my first note, A to A flat, that means I need to flat the other 2 notes as well. So if we're thinking, again, of sharps as positive and flats as negative, well, if I subtract 1 from all these, I end up with A flat, C, because that sharp's going to cancel it out, E flat. Well, is this true? Let me see. A flat, C, E flat. Boy, sure sounds major to me. So that's how we can turn A major into A flat major. So if we already know what A major is, but like the back of our hand, just move every note down a half step, or flat every note, if you will, and you'll get your A flat major there. And then we can apply the rules that we learned from other stuff too to kind of make minor chords and diminished chords. So now if we know this is A flat major, well, if we want A flat minor, we'd have to flat our middle note, just like we always had before. So we'd end up with A flat, C flat, E flat. Okay, what's this sound like? A flat, C flat, E flat. Hey, sounds minor to me. And then we get this whole C flat thing again, which you could define it as a B. It is a B on piano, but in theory world, we need to call that a C flat because we're altering C, we're not adding a new note. All right, so that's how that works with some of these ones that need a sharp in the middle. Let's do B for fun here as our last one. So if we have B, D sharp, F sharp as one of our golden triad chords, which it is, let's flat every single note. So if we flat every single note, we get B flat, D, F. Well, hey, this is a B flat major chord because we're taking the same step pattern and we're just moving it down a half step, just like we did for all the previous chords, right? So there's B flat major for you, and then you could do all the alterations to, fiddle around with B flat to make it into something else. So now we have B flat, we could say, well, if that's B flat major, this must be B flat minor, so I need to get flat my middle note. Hey, there's B flat, okay, so that's B flat minor. Put my little M there. Then what? Let's do B augmented next. There's my plus sign. So that starts off like a major chord, B flat, D, and then I need to go up one more from F to get 3 and 3. Where's my 3 and 3? So I get B flat, D, F sharp. Again, I could verify this. If I skip 3 again, I end up back on B flat. Okay, so B augmented is like a variation off of the major chord. And then we're gonna do, oh, forgot my flat. Then B flat diminished is gonna start off like a minor chord because we need that 2 step in front. And then I got a flat F apparently. So I get B flat, D flat, F flat. Well, that sounds right. And again, F flat's the enharmonic equivalent to E, but in this case we're gonna call it F flat because we're trying to always maintain this B, D, F relationship even as we morph through the chords, right? If we keep track of that, that's a little better instead of shifting notes around. Okay, and this kind of makes sense. If B, D, F was a diminished chord, well, B flat, D flat, F flat should be a diminished chord as well because I'm taking a diminished chord, I'm just moving it. So a final way you could think about this stuff is if I do something like this, say I have like a C major chord and I move every note up a half step. Well, that must be a major chord because I know it has to be a 3-2 relationship. I'm just moving that up the keyboard, right? So if I'm here, then I move everything up a half step. Well, let me move everything up a half step again. Hey, that's a D major chord. Let me move it up a half step again. That's E flat major. Let me move it again. Hey, that's E major. We already knew that one. Let me move it up again, half step each. Oh, we end up on that F position, which is like one of the ones that doesn't require a lot of work. So if I just keep moving up the keyboard and move every single note up a half step at a time, I'll encounter every single major chord because it's going to maintain that pattern of 3-2 the whole way through it. B flat. So there you go. That's like the whole major sequence. Every single note. You have 12 notes that you can work from here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. You're just back to C, right? Or back to your octave. So when we do the math finally on this, if you can remember 7 chords, well, you can move those to their black keys. So let's call that 12 chords. Let's time that by 4. And you get what, 24, 48 chords there, right? So that's 48 chords that you have, 12 major, 12 minor, 12 augmented, 12 diminished. Is there other things we can do with these chords? Yeah. So in the future, we'll talk about inversions if we haven't talked about that yet. And we'll talk about seventh chords and how to go about those. But all that stuff is really, really, really predicated on you knowing these golden triads and how to morph them into other chords here. So I hope this series helped. I thought this was going to be like a 10-minute video at the beginning, but it looks like it turned about like a 40, 50-minute lecture here. So watch these videos if we've been going through the stuff in the lessons, and then come back at me with questions, right? And anything maybe I missed or something like that. So with that, I'm going to shut up. I'm going to let you guys mess around with this and get back to me with what you want. Bye.